Hey everyone. Now, these are my top 5 tips on how to get the most out of your ChatGPT Plus license. And we're going to go over all of these tips and I'm going to show you some examples on how I use ChatGPT and how do I get the most out of it. So starting, if you'll see, I have a ChatGPT Plus license, which means I have access to their top models. I have access to creating and using custom GPTs, and I also have an early access. So now let's begin. The very first thing that you need to do and should do is customize GPT. What that means is if you click on your profile picture on the top right, you should get an option to customize ChatGPT. What this does is it gives you two major options. First is what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better response. And basically, this is where you put stuff like where are you based, what do you do for work, what are your hobbies and interests, what subjects you care about, and what are some of the goals that you have. The other section is where you give instruction in terms of how do you like ChatGPT to respond. And this is how formal or casual you want ChatGPT to be, how concise, clear, or detailed you want the answers to be, and should ChatGPT have certain kind of opinions or be neutral, all of that good stuff. Now, moving on to the next second biggest tip, that is memory. Now, if you go to settings and if you go to personalization, you'll see a tab called memory. By default, this tab might be disabled or enabled. I'm not sure. I don't remember that. But what it essentially does is allows ChatGPT to remember things about you so it can improve its further responses. And I'm going to show you how do you add to the memory, how do you retrieve that. So let's take an example of how do I make ChatGPT to remember something. So for example, I want ChatGPT, hey, I want you to remember that I am starting a YouTube channel. So if you'll see, there is a memory updated and then got it. So if you go to manage memories, you'll find it here. Now, this is the same section and you can arrive at this section again by going into settings, personalization, manage memories. And it's as simple as that. And what you can do is, and if you want ChatGPT to forget something, of course, it's as easy as deleting it, forgetting it, and it's gone. Perfect. Now, how do you use that? There are certain things that I want ChatGPT to remember. Things mostly around my writing style. So, for example, I will ask, "What do you remember about my writing style and preferences?" So it says it remembers that I prefer concise and clear communication style, focused on brevity with only the most relevant information. I don't like seeing emojis. I value straightforward professional responses that get to the point quickly without unnecessary detail. So that's how I do, or I make the most out of ChatGPT, or rather, I make the most out of the memory management system. One another application to memory management is, for example, you want ChatGPT to write a blog post or any kind of content for you. Let's say, uh, write a LinkedIn post for me. Now, if you were to do this generally in a without any memory or context, ChatGPT can give you all kinds of response. But for me, it is definitely going to focus on my writing style and preferences. So let's also ask it, can you also go over your thought process while you were writing the topic of the post is generative AI. All right. So it says certainly here's a post. Now it's giving me a draft. Now, as you'll see, uh, it's a very small and crisp post. It's not too long. It has no emojis whatsoever. And this is where it's saying the post is professional and clarity, knowing your preference for concise and clear communication. I kept this. Topical relevance. It says the post highlights the importance of generative AI, insightful, forward-looking, engaging. It used what it knows in its memory to kind of improve the response. All right. Now we'll move on to the third biggest thing, and that is called custom GPTs. So let's look at this. Now, this is just a list of few GPTs that I've created. So first, let me explain what is a custom GPT. Um, so a GPT or ChatGPT is a wrapper around the GPT algorithm, which is the generative pre-trained transformer or the large language model as we know it. And it is built such that it allows you to do conversations with the large language model. Now, custom GPT is nothing but a wrapper around that large language model with with your preferential context or your system prompts. Now, I'll probably explain to you more about this with certain examples. So there are certain applications that you can use it for. So for example, you can build your own custom GPT to be a trainer. For example, I have a custom GPT called Cyber Guide X, which actually helps me learn about cybersecurity. So let me ask it, and I'll show you what's under the hood as well. But let's say, what is the curriculum? Now I provided it a curriculum. Now it's going through the curriculum, the different modules there is. Now, if I ask just this question to any custom chat GPT, I would have to, or sorry, if I ask this question to a chat GPT, I would have to ask a lot of questions or a lot of context. Now this is where this is helpful. And now I can of course ask it a very specific question. Let's say, teach me one concept from the curriculum. Awesome. So it's a picked up social engineering attacks. It's from module 2 and it's going to teach you that. Now that's one example of how you can use one application of ChatGPT or custom GPTs. Let's look at another application which I use, which is an helper or a coding assist. Now I use Streamlit a lot. Streamlit is kind of a library package for building Python front end UI, and of course I use ChatGPT a lot to help me with writing that code. Now I built this custom wrapper so that I can ask direct questions about Streamlit, and I don't have to every time give a prompt and say, hey, I'm working with Streamlit, this is what I'm doing, this is my use case. And I've already given it the instructions that, hey, you are designed to provide information around Streamlit. Another interesting way that I use it is as a researcher. Now, so I was researching about a lot of airlines and the aviation industry in general. Now, I found some great research papers, and these research papers, all credits are to a company called Cartroller. They release an ancillary yearbook every year. So what I did is I actually fed all of those PDF files to a custom chat GPT, and now I can ask it about all of the information that is within. So for example, I can ask it, uh, how are the ancillary revenues trending year over year? Now, it'll not be going onto the internet. It's actually searching its knowledge and it's going to come back. Hey, the ancillary revenues in 14 was like this, 15, 18, and so on and so forth. Now, this is a research assistant, so I can, of course, ask it to validate stuff and I can cross question things that are from that report. So, remember, these reports are all 100 pages each at least, and they have got 500 pages of PDF now fed into this custom GPT, and it can then help me do that. Now let's look at what actually goes into a custom GPT. So this is the create and config section of a GPT, and there are two ways that you can create your GPT. There are two ways to creating a GPT. One is create, where you can actually talk in a conversational tone with the GPT builder and it will create that, and it's an easier way. However, I prefer the way that you go into the config section, because then you clearly know what needs to go into each part. And I'm just going to go over all of them quickly. So now name is pretty standard. Let's say for an example, I want a GPT to help me plan my YouTube schedule. So I'm going to say YouTube helper. And description, now I'm going to give a short description about what the GPT does. This is a GPT designed to help the user with planning their YouTube strategy, content, and scripts. Perfect. And now the next section is instruction. Now, this is where you put in all of the details as to what goes into this GPT. Oh, let me see. Yeah. What goes into this GPT? How do you want it to behave? And what should it avoid doing? So, this is basically where the main prompt will sit. So let's come up with a prompt. Let's do a quick prompt here in terms of what I want this GPT to do. Rather, I'm going to do it. So I usually like the approach of doing a rather a role, goal, task, outcome approach, so that the GPT is clear in terms of what I want from it and how I want it to behave and what is the outcome that I'm expecting from that. So let's say role, you are an expert in social media marketing and YouTube content strategy. Your goal is to assist the user in creating YouTube content and suggesting improvements. Also to brainstorm with them based on the task that I'm assigning this GPT. You have access to the internet. You ask to gather relevant information and provide creative yet valuable insights to the user so they can come up with an ideal YouTube channel. Outcome: the user should be able to get a list of ideas about unique and creative YouTube content strategies based on their interests, which are backed by verifiable stats. Let's do that. And conversation starters are, you can give some kind of presets where you don't have to type. So for example, I'll give you an example that's easier. um, Give me 5 ideas of YouTube shorts related to generative AI. Give me 5 ideas for long form YouTube content on Gen AI. Now give me 10 ideas of YouTube shorts on prompted generic. Now, if you see on the right, uh, these are actually coming up and you can just click on them. Now let's look at, there is also another section, knowledge, which I kind of when I was going through one of my research assistant, I told you that I fed it PDFs, and this is where you can actually upload any files and you can feed it those PDF files. There is, however, something that you should be aware of. That is, if you want to upload files here, you should either do txt files, that's better, or if you're uploading pdf files, you need to ensure that those are editable. And what I mean by editable, these are the files which are, you can search on, which you can select on. You can still give upload images here, but I personally have found them to be less accurate in terms of retrieval of that information. So I would prefer that you either give it text, or you can even upload CSV if you want, but I would still want to give it textual information because that's easier to parse, and then GPT can take a much more easier approach. Or rather, GPT can actually pass that information and give you better results. Finally, there is the capability section where you can enable and disable certain capabilities. So unless it's absolutely critical, I would avoid using a code interpreter and data analysis. And why is that? And you see that Chat ChatGPT also gives you disclaimer, rather, sorry, is that if it's enabled, you can actually jailbreak others GPT and ask them, and in some shape or form, you can ask them to download the file that you have uploaded. So I would steer away from this, and if you're making a public GPT, but if you're making something private, do whatever you want. So I don't need images for here, so I'm going to turn off DALI imaging, but I do want web browsing. Finally, this is the create new action. I will not go into details of the create new action, but here you can connect with external APIs. And if you want to get further information from an external API, you can connect here. Now, this is the preview section. You can actually ask the question and see how it's performing. So let's look at, give me 5 ideas of YouTube shorts. So AI versus human, who created this art. So it's going to come with concept, why it works, and it's going to follow that route. So it knows that we are creating YouTube shorts. So these are going to be short form content. And let's ask it, give me 5 ideas for long form YouTube content related to AI and machine learning. Awesome. So now it's going to give you long form content. Now let's create this, and while you're creating it, you're going to get an option as to how do you want this GPT to be. So you can share this GPT with just yourself, or you can put it on a GPT store. Now, if this GPT does not have any confidential information, or you can actually then publish it to the marketplace where users can actually, the other users can also use your GPT. And if you want to share it only with a limited group, you can go ahead with anyone with the link. So I'm going to just publish it to only me. I don't care. All right. So now this GPT is done. How we can access this is, there are 2 ways that we can access this. One is we can go to my GPTs and I can click on YouTube helper, and then I can use it like this. The other interesting way of using custom GPTs is this. So you open a new chat now, and let's say you want to start working on something. So what you can do is, if you get the sign, you can actually call all of the GPTs that you have built. Now, let's say I want to call the YouTube helper. I'm going to say suggest 5 ideas. for short form content. So now it's going to call that custom GPT and it's going to give different ideas. Okay, now I did not give it much context in terms of what I want these ideas to be on, blah, blah, blah. But the fun thing here is now I can use different GPTs as well in the same chat. So let's call the ST helper, which is my Streamlit helper, and suggest new things that I can do with Streamlit. So I'm going to ask it that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to say add YouTube helper based on the response above. Help me create YouTube shorts. So what we're doing is we've called one custom GPT to get certain information, and then we're calling another custom GPT to build on top of that. So now, see, perfect. So it took that information from that custom GPT and is going to bring this conversation to here. And now YouTube helper is now going to generate all of those scripts and ideas for me. So that's how you can use multiple custom GPTs in one chat. Now, the next thing that you can do to maximize how do you use ChatGPT, if you explore the ChatGPT Marketplace. So if you go on your left side and you click on explore GPTs, now this is a place where you can actually look at a lot of different custom GPTs that other people have made. And I've found some to be really, really helpful. And you can use a lot of them. And all you need to do that to use them, to use any of them, is just find the one that you're looking for. So, for example, I want to look at maybe somebody has done a better job with the YouTube ideas. So I'm going to just search for YouTube and let's see what I get. YouTube summarizers, YouTube SEO descriptions, summarize YouTube videos, SEO wizard, let's say ideas, shorts and reel assistance, which is nice. So let's look at this. So what you do is when you click on that, you'll get information around what this GPT can do. And all you need to do is click on start chat and you start using that GPT. Finally, the last tip is about security. And one of the settings that I think everyone should have configured is the multi-factor authentication. And this is a setting that you should know. And this is where you will be connecting your authenticator app. You could be using any of the authenticator apps like Google Authenticator, Microsoft, F2, 2FA. There are multiple, there are lots of them, and you can use any one that you like and connect that. Now, reiterating all of the five. First, customize your ChatGPT, personalize the settings, manage your memory, create custom GPTs, use custom GPTs, use custom GPTs from the marketplace, and don't forget to review your security settings. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching this. Hope you liked it. Bye-bye.